get all the news from WTCN TV's expanded news gathering facility.
WTCN TV, Channel 11.
This is KARE 11 News at 10. From KARE 11 News, this is Extra Extra.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Extra Extra. I'm Paul Majors.
And I'm Diana Pierce. Tonight, allow us to toot our own horn as we revisit some stories which have earned KARE 11 the title of Best Newsroom in the Country. But don't just take our word for it.
That's right. Next month, KARE 11 will receive the prestigious Edward R. Murrow Award for overall excellence in television journalism. It's an honor we can't help but boast about, since it recognizes not just one or two individuals, but our entire news organization. Tonight, we'll follow up on some stories which support KARE 11's position as a leader in broadcasting, including a dramatic effort to rescue baby moose in northern Minnesota.
Plus, find out how the efforts of this reporter and photographer landed a thief in jail. It's a cops and robbers chase without the cops, a story you won't want to miss.
But first, carnival rides. Kids love them. But how safe are they? Tonight, Mark Daly updates us on the sometimes tragic results when you choose to ride at your own risk.
Everybody loves a good old-fashioned carnival. In Minnesota, it's a summertime tradition, a part of growing up. Eating all that sticky stuff. Trying just one more time to win that really big prize.
Winner, winner, winner!
And best of all, those hair-raising, gut-twisting rides. The rides. You assume they're safe, or you'd never let your kids near them. But do you really know how safe they are? Each year, nearly 8,000 Americans end up in hospital emergency rooms as a result of amusement ride accidents. Nearly 8,000 a year. Last month, 6-year-old Katie Blizzle of Buffalo, Minnesota, was one of the unlucky ones. Katie and her older brother Ben were riding a Ferris wheel when she fell between 12 and 25 feet onto a steel platform. Katie's parents were nearby watching her younger brother on a kiddie ride.
Well, I first realized Katie had fallen is when I didn't see her up in the car with Ben, and then saw her little purple outfit that she had on the ground.
Fortunately, Katie survived, but she fractured her skull and had to be airlifted to North Memorial Hospital in Robbinsdale for surgery. The carnival owners insist the Ferris wheel was working properly.
The accounts that I heard, it's my understanding that the girl tried to get out of the seat on her own. So it was the girl's fault. That's my understanding of it.
Police investigators inspected the Ferris wheel and found no mechanical problems, and so no charges were filed. But witnesses to the accident say the Ferris wheel car simply turned upside down and dumped Katie out, and that neither Katie nor her brother were to blame.
No, they weren't doing anything wrong. I mean, as far as we could tell, there was nothing that they were doing. And the car didn't rotate like it should have.
According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, most carnival accidents are caused by careless or drunken riders, not mechanical problems.
That's good right there.
And industry officials say carnival owners take great care in maintaining their equipment.
The carnival owner is a hands-on guy. He's right here along with his ride supervisor and ride personnel setting up those rides. He has a lot of money invested in it. They take pride in their business.
Nicky! But still, accidents happen, and they can be serious. Last month in Chicago, 15 people were hurt when a car on this skydiver ride crashed into another car. Dozens of panic-stricken riders were left dangling for 2 hours. And just 3 weeks ago, a teenage girl died after falling out of this roller coaster at the Worlds of Fun amusement park in Kansas City. The girl, 14-year-old Ryan Bilby, fell 25 feet to her death. Megan Goff and Carrie Field were luckier. Last summer, they fell more than 20 feet out of a Ferris wheel in River Falls, Wisconsin.
I remember the cart starting to tip, and I was holding on to the safety bar when it broke, and then I fell out, and then I don't remember anymore.
Her eyes were not there. They're just kind of in the back of her head. And, I just assumed the worst.
She was unconscious, and I couldn't feel any breath, and I was, just terrified. I just started screaming for an ambulance.
Inspectors cited the carnival owners for 3 safety violations that may have caused the accident. The Ferris wheel was assembled crookedly, the lap bar was defective, it didn't lash properly, and the seat cushion wasn't secured, so it slid right off the ride. In addition, the ride operator, Roxanne Bowell, apparently had been drinking. According to police reports, her blood alcohol level was .04 almost an hour after the accident. The carnival company has gone out of business.
When they get farther along, we can come back and check on that.
In Wisconsin, state safety inspectors check out every carnival at least once a year.
Oh, yeah.
Scott Amacher says a number of carnivals that come into Wisconsin each year from Minnesota and the rest of the country have very little concern for safety.
They don't have checklists before they start their rides. They don't check them over. They just put them together the best they can, and they run them. They don't. I've seen shows that they're out to make a buck, and that's it.
In contrast to Wisconsin, Minnesota law merely requires carnival owners to have insurance and trust the insurance companies to conduct formal inspections every year.
You simply cannot operate a ride in Minnesota without those 2 things, $1 million in insurance and a certificate of inspection.
But remember the carnival where Katie Blizzle fractured her skull? Well, its last formal inspection was in July of last year, which means the carnival has operated in 11 Minnesota towns already this summer, but it has yet to be formally inspected this year. And that means Minnesotans just have to trust that the carnivals themselves are keeping the ride safe.
We have visual inspections every morning and test run procedures every morning.
That's not good enough for Representative Tom Ossoff. Ossoff wants formal inspections at the beginning of every summer season, and he says no carnival should operate in Minnesota before then.
If a carnival is operating and it hasn't been inspected,
shut them down.
Shouldn't be operating.
Shut them down. They have no right to be in our state.
I trusted my children to a ride and an operator. And I guess my trust in this type of situation was wrong.
And right or wrong, for now at least, the show goes on.
And Mark Daly joins us now for an update. Mark, how many injuries have there been since your story aired 2 years ago?
Paul, it may be hard to believe, but we have no idea. The state simply doesn't keep track of that statistic. We don't know whether the accident rate's going up or whether it's going down. Nobody knows. That is the biggest problem that remains with the state inspection program as it now stands.
Now, has a lot changed in regard to how rides are regulated?
No, Diana, the law has not changed at all. As you saw in our story, Representative Tom Ossoff promised to push for stricter regulations, but his proposals went nowhere with the legislature. Apparently, lawmakers believe that not enough people have been hurt to warrant any changes in the law. Putting your child on a carnival ride in Minnesota requires an element of trust. Rarely does anyone get hurt, but critics say the state's carnival inspection program still is one of the weakest in the country. In Florida, for example, rides are inspected every time they're set up in a new town. In Minnesota, the state requires mechanical inspections just once a year. Industry experts say lawmakers need to improve Minnesota's inspection program before more carnival riders get hurt.
I would hate to have a tragedy in the state cause them to react and cause them to emotionally react in a situation and perhaps pass bad legislation.
In addition to needing a better inspection program, Minnesota is one of the few states that doesn't even keep track of how many carnival ride accidents occur each year.
There should be reporting of serious incidents so that we have a record, both the legislature and the departments who are interested in that information have a record of those incidents and can react.
As for Katie Blizzle, the little girl from Buffalo who fractured her skull 2 years ago, well, she's 8 years old now and fully recovered. Her parents say Katie isn't much interested in carnival rides anymore. Instead, she's had a busy summer going to camp and playing with her brothers.
Playing Monopoly and playing basketball, baseball, and tennis.
As for those who do choose to go on carnival rides, safety experts remind us most accidents are not caused by mechanical or operator errors. Most accidents are caused by riders themselves, riders who are goofing around.
Mark, is there a difference in how permanent amusement parks like, say, Valley Fair are regulated as opposed to the more transitory carnivals, you know, the ones that come into town for 2 or 3 days and then take off?
Yes, Paul, there are very big differences in permanent amusement parks like Valley Fair and Camp Snoopy. Those amusement parks have inspection programs that are designed by insurance companies, and many of their rides are inspected several times each day. That is not the case with mobile carnival rides.
All right, thank you, Mark Daly reporting. And we'll be right back.
Still ahead, find out how Carrie Levin's own Crime Stoppers put an end to this thief's joyride.
He's now out of his vehicle at 11th and 14th.
But first, meet a young man who, despite a serious learning disability, has found the key to success.
As a high school student, our next guest was a star athlete and an accomplished musician and was given the honor of performing at his senior graduation. Now, what makes this story so remarkable was that he himself barely graduated as a result of a learning disability. Although reading and writing may not come easily for this young man, he has achieved a level of success far beyond his years, and he found the key to happiness.
There is a melody to Nicholas Novacek's life.
He's very gifted. He's gifted beyond what he can comprehend.
Sometimes it's the gentle give and take of waves in the lake where he and his brother set docks.
I guess I look at Nick and I see a very caring young man, and it kind of comes through in a lot of different things he does.
Sometimes it's a surge of energy, an attempt to fling his body higher than it has been before. Nick is an athlete. He can catch a quarterback's careful pass or lift himself over a towering bar. He loves the precise physics of the vaulting pole he uses to scale the heights of a track meet. But it's running the scales on a piano that has helped this young man find a secure niche and something that allows him to express his real creativity. "17-year-old Nick Novacek doesn't just play the piano, he composes. All of the music in this story is his.
You could just see there was something more underneath, and I think it really came out when we moved out here and he started working with Sue.
I'm going to play you a beginning. You give me an answer to this, okay?
When Nick began playing piano in 5th grade, he hated the formality of old-style read and repeat teaching. Lessons for Nick at Sue Wrench's La Musique studio in Excelsior are often a duet of asking and answering through the keys. Sue understood Nick's need to create from his very first lessons.
What you hear and what you see from when he performs, it's really his true feelings coming out. And the gift that we have to continue to work with yet is to control that.
It's tempting to label Nick Novacek Renaissance boy, but his story is not that simple. School for the Minnetonka High Junior has been a struggle.
Yeah, in the sense that the classes daily, it's hard to keep track of everything, and I haven't struggled, you know, where I've sat for hours on assignments or whatever, but as an overall, it hasn't been the easiest thing I've ever done.
Some years ago, Nick was diagnosed as having a condition that sometimes makes it difficult to concentrate in traditional classroom settings.
He's a very bright young man, but he learns differently in many ways.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to lay a piano part.
One learning dilemma is reading and remembering his own music. Sue Wrench hooked up a keyboard to a computer that places the notes flowing from Nick's fingers directly into a sheet music format.
To this day, I mean, I read decently, but I struggle with that. That's the weakest part of what I play.
So the music is in your head better than it is on the sheets, and
Yeah.
And the machine enables you to put it on the sheet without thinking about it.
Without thinking about it, and then we have it, and then at least I can look at it and work with it, and other people can look at it.
The result of this method is a growing collection of compositions, including lyrics. Nick stores the record of his work in a most private space. Songs in blue paint on the bottom of the baby grand.
It says, "Time never waits, only forward, never backwards," but there is that one moment where time is standing still.
The key is to just keep bringing them back to things they're successful at, and that's where Nicholas has been lucky. He's had some good coaches who have cared about him. He's been very fortunate that he's been able to do well athletically, and that I think has helped. And I think also the piano, and just knowing that he's got a place he can kind of come and really rebuild himself a little bit.
Many times, if he's struggling with life, he'll just come in here and just play his heart out for 45 minutes. And it's just a place where he can just be himself.
Nick is a young man with a firm grip on the keyboard and his talents. Through the years, classmates chose between sports and music.
I don't think I could make that decision to whether I was going to say music or sports.
Why not?
Because eventually one of the two will come to an end. It assumably, hopefully, will be sports, but eventually that will come to an end.
And Nick Novacek is joining us tonight. Welcome, Nick. Now, it's been a while since we last saw you on that piece. You went to be a senior, and then you graduated, and then you went on to college. But that episode wasn't too easy making. You said you barely made it through school.
Yeah. Well, high school was, the end of high school was great with graduation and everything. Since you guys last saw me, we went through another great football season in Minnetonka. Went through graduation, had a great time, and got to college. Had another great football season. The school aspect of it just didn't quite all mold together right at the end of everything.
So right now you're working on some new music, but you're at home.
Yeah, I'm living at home, moving out in a week. I'm going to get an apartment with one of my friends, actually. So going to be down there and start working on a lot of music stuff. As for school, I'm not sure. Maybe some Normandale in the fall for a while. We'll see where it leads.
Is a music career a possibility for you?
That's what I want for the future. That's definitely what I'm looking forward to doing.
Well, you have a favorite musician?
Billy Joel.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah.
Love to hear him play.
Can you hear yourself doing Billy Joel type music?
I can't sing, so.
But hopefully one of these days, you've got a CD out.
Yeah. Put that out when I was a junior and was recording my junior year. And my senior year, we actually released it.
Okay, well, what are you going to play for us tonight?
It's a piece that's on the CD. It's called The Street Life Crossroad.
And as you said, it was a collaborative between you and Sue Wrench, who we saw in the piece. So, Nick, take it away.
Now, this baby moose doesn't know it yet, but he's in good hands.
To many Minnesotans, the moose is a regal representation of northern wildlife. But over the last several years, the moose population has plummeted in places like Agassiz Nature Preserve. a northern refuge that is home to some of Minnesota's most endangered wildlife.
Biologists hope to find out why so many moose are disappearing by studying their young. What they find may well serve as a mirror for mankind.
As the morning sun kisses the sky with fire, the many voices of the marsh serenade the new day.
On a given good morning, you can hear quite a few birds.
Amid the chorus of melodies, Wayne Brininger listens for but one odd little song.
There's a bit in there. Did you hear him? Kind of that pumping.
He seeks the American bittern, a heron-like bird which was easy to find until recently.
I believe that they make an ideal indicator species for the wetlands. They tell us about the health of our wetlands and how healthy our ecosystem is out here.
And so he studies the bittern in hopes of learning how man has impacted the species, causing its numbers to dwindle.
You get within about 100 yards of them, you can get them to come in fairly easy.
Wayne uses a mirrored trap designed to lure and capture the bittern. Within minutes, the male bittern responds to the taped mating call.
Oh, I think it's going to happen. He's coming up in front of it. We'll remove him from the trap and get ready to take some measurements and put a radio on him.
It's a wild place of wings and water, but the Agassiz Refuge was once known best for this stately creature, the moose. In the past couple of years, however, the population has declined from nearly 400 to just over 100 animals.
There's some higher ground over here to the west.
So U.S. Fish and Wildlife biologist Gary Hushley designed a study to discover why.
Possibly from that, maybe it's something that we can manipulate in the habitat or manipulate through hunting seasons or through predator trapping or hunting season, something like that, that would be able to improve the population here.
But moose can't be lured with mirrors into cages, so researchers hired a company to locate cows with newborn calves from the air. It's a dizzying ride across the tens of thousands of acres of wetland. Covering huge expanses of marsh at a time, the adult moose seem plentiful. Mothers with babies are more elusive. Then they spot a pair. They circle to frighten the mother away. As the pilot hovers over the water where the calf has been left behind, Tim Williams jumps down to snatch the animal before Mom returns.
The most difficult thing is getting through the water when you're up to your waist in mud and stuff like that.
To photojournalist Greg Schulzenberg's shock, Tim hands the baby to him, forcing him to put his camera aside. But within moments, the helicopter lands and the processing of the calf begins.
Okay, now what we're doing now is we're just going to take some blood.
A sock over its head keeps the calf calm while Williams probes for a vein. Data about size and weight is noted, and a radio collar is attached so the baby can be tracked in the future.
They're a really fragile little animal, you know. I mean, they're only a couple, 3 or 4 days old, so you've got to just pick them up and just sort of hold them up, just like a cradle sort of thing.
You can go back to Mom now.
Within 5 to 7 minutes, the baby is home, waiting for Mom. Over 4 days, the helicopter crew hopes to capture and collar more than a dozen calves. But they also enjoy a glorious view of Agassiz and its wealth of natural wonders. From the fearsome to the fragile, the life of Agassiz is something precious. And it's the work of these scientists which may keep it safe for our children and theirs.
And just to put your minds at ease, the researchers don't leave the area until after the calves are reunited with their mothers. Although experts are making some headway in figuring out how to increase the young moose's chance of survival, the study is still in its infancy.
However, thanks to the recognition generated by our story, the program has received some generous contributions, allowing them to expand their research efforts.
Coming up next, the courageous story of a little girl fighting a big battle.
It's out there! Oh, how exciting.
And winning.
Up next,
they put it to us like this. They said, well, you know, since this is a terminal illness, because they told us up front this is terminal, your daughter has 9 months, maybe a year to live.
For a parent, there is perhaps no greater fear than being told your child has cancer. At the onset of little Hannah Schaefer's rare form of leukemia, doctors predicted a 0% chance of recovery. Yet little Hannah was to defy the odds.
As a last resort, Hannah's parents agreed to an experimental procedure at the University of Minnesota. Whether it was the revolutionary treatment, the power of prayer, or a tiny girl's undeniable spirit, you have to agree there is something very remarkable about a little girl named Hannah.
Oh, be you!
Be you, they're scary.
Hannah Schaefer of Edina is a 2-year-old. Her favorite toys are her books. Hannah is an accomplished counter.
How many bugs are in the little box? How many are in there?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Good for you.
She is a ruddy cherub now, but just 18 months ago, her parents were counting the days of what they feared would be a very short life.
My mind was trying to think of everything I could think of about what I knew about leukemia. You know, was this mean she was going to die?
The odds were yes. Hannah's 411 translocation leukemia hits fewer than 10 children a year in the whole world. Hannah was just 9 months old.
They put it to us like this. They said, well, you know, since this is a terminal illness, because they told us up front this is terminal, your daughter has 9 months, maybe a year to live.
I mean, I just couldn't even believe it. It's like, how can this be happening to our daughter?
She went on chemo for 12 weeks. And it was a very harsh, probably one of the harshest chemotherapy treatments they've ever given to anybody.
And as a result, ended up in intensive care on a respirator. And we were told at that point she probably was not going to make it.
So the little angel whose birth so delighted her brothers Ryan and Andrew was to alight only briefly in their lives. But miraculously, tiny Hannah survived the massive infusion of killer drugs and seemed to be in remission. The family welcomed her home from the hospital with a banner in the dining room.
I mean, we were ecstatic. It was like we had beaten the odds. We had done something that we were told we couldn't do. And now it was time to look at some additional measures that could really secure that remission.
But Hannah's remission turned out to be a myth. She was rushed back to the hospital in less than a day. Biotherapy pioneer Dr. Fatih Ukin of the University of Minnesota explained that Hannah's bone marrow was still abnormal.
She still had a lot of cancer. I didn't like him at that moment for telling me that, because I had gone in with all this hope that maybe she was going to make it, and then I find out from another doctor that really she's not doing well at all.
The options were a risky bone marrow transplant or Dr. Ukin's own groundbreaking biotherapy drug, B43-PAP. They opted for the revolutionary biotherapy.
It's an antigen therapy, so it's not destroying healthy cells. It's only attacking those cells that it finds cancerous with that particular marker.
She wasn't in that strong of a remission when we took her there, and within just a month after receiving the biotherapy, they did a bone marrow of her, took a look at her bone marrow, and they couldn't find any cancer.
Hannah, now seemingly cancer-free, has become the poster child of biotherapy.
And Fatih at this point has told us that he's raised her long-term recovery prognosis from 0 to 90%.
But Carrie admits to a bit of superstition now, and the banner still hangs in the dining room.
When will you get to the point where you can take the banner down, do you think?
Never. That will stay up. And if it doesn't stay there, it will go in her room.
It's a room that features her expanding life story in pictures, a mobile of Leukemia Hope Cranes, and the energy of a remarkable little girl who has absorbed Minnesota's most potent medicine to defy the odds and celebrate another Christmas.
Okay, good night, everybody. Good night. You say good night?
Night.
There is both good news and bad news to report since our story first aired last year. The bad news is the University of Minnesota Biotherapy Lab closed in June. The good news is that its founder and guiding force, Dr. Fadi Yukun, just announced he is going to be founding director of a brand new cancer research center, the Hughes Institute, to be located in St. Paul. Its mission? To fight childhood cancer. It's hoped that the university's loss will be the world's gain.
As for Hannah Schaefer, we visited with her at her home recently, and, well, you'll just have to see for yourself.
I'm gonna stir. I'll stir it, okay? I'll stir it. Yippee!
In the life and death fight against childhood cancer, there are winners and there are losers.
We have every 15 minutes a child dying of leukemia. I mean, this is not fair. Kids are not supposed to have this disease.
Clearly, Hannah is one of the lucky ones, in more ways than one.
And the thing that I think is most exceptional about Hannah is that everywhere she goes, she seems to radiate attention. There's something about her that is captivating, and I can't quite put my finger on it.
I'll take the picture, please.
Captivating? Yes. And perhaps even cured. Though doctors offer no promises about what the future may bring, she is, for the present, cancer-free. And every bit as normal as the other 3-year-olds at her preschool. A fact Hannah's family gratefully attributes to the extraordinary work of Dr. Yukun.
Without a doubt, I can say he has done some remarkable things.
And perhaps some help from above.
She is, in my mind, an angel. That's why she's here. In my prayers when we were first diagnosed, my prayers, I just said, we have enough angels up north. We need some help here. Please let her stay.
Oh, she's our little angel. And then you realize that you can't help them all, but you don't want to give up because when a child dies, it's a reality, and it's a totally unfair reality.
Thanks to Dr. Yukun, today, Hannah's reality is a whole lot brighter.
I'll buy my hours are better.
Now,
bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? When you were
a keen eye, nerves of steel, and a knack for being in the right place at the right time have served reporter Bernie Grace and photographer Bob Crippa well on numerous occasions over the years. Recently, however, these Crime Stoppers were commended by the Minneapolis Police Department for their help in apprehending a car thief. For them, just another day on the job. For the car thief, well, let's just say he was caught in the act.
That green and white Blazer with all the damage to the front end was the target of a search in South Minneapolis. Police say it had just hit this school bus near Lake Street. KARE 11 News heard over the police scanner the alert for the hit-and-run vehicle, and within seconds we spotted it, so we called 911 to report the vehicle's whereabouts.
This is Channel 11. Following that green Blazer with a white top,
the stolen vehicle began going the wrong way on a one-way, cars swerving to avoid it. The vehicle with heavy damage to the front end kept going. Then several miles and some 10 minutes after he's accused of slamming into the school bus, another vehicle was hit. But the damage on the stolen vehicle would soon become even worse as the vehicle missed a corner and struck a streetlight control box at Elliott Park.
he's bailing. I got him. He's now out of his vehicle at 11th and 14th.
So now the foot chase was on. We followed him in our vehicle a ways as police were speeding to the scene. But before they arrived, the suspect ran into the Hennepin County Medical Center and ran through the halls.
Grab their security right there. Grab that guy.
All the way, a KARE 11 camera following behind.
Grab him! Grab him!
Then he ran out a back door. Hospital security officers joined the chase. Now, after 2 vehicles had been struck and the stolen vehicle smashed up, the chase entered a parking ramp. It finally ended at an office building next to the Metrodome.
720. One in custody, 1010 South 7.
Police say the suspect, who's a resident of the state of Virginia, would be booked in jail on 3 counts of hit and run and auto theft.
He got the headache.
720 was that the driver, do you know?
Yep. This guy tried to kill me.
They say the only one who may have killed someone is this man. They say the way he was driving, they're lucky no one was injured.
And reporter Bernie Grace is taking a well-deserved break from his crime-stopping job to join us tonight. Bernie, thanks for being here with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, tell me about your commendation.
Well, the police they don't always appreciate us being right there, but in this particular case, they appreciated us being there and calling in right away, and we stayed on their tail until they got there. And,
Well, what's the commendation say? What does that mean?
well, they're grateful that we would become involved, and that goes on from there, and saying that a lot of people wouldn't become involved. So
Citizens, we report those a lot. Citizens receive those commendations. But oftentimes media, police have an adversarial relationship. I'm assuming it's the first one you've ever received.
No, the second one.
Oh, it
in
is?
fact. Oh, yes. Chief Tony Boza gave me one time, too.
Did he really?
And we followed somebody into an apartment building and called the police. They had held up a couple of stores, and we thought they fit the descriptions. And called the police, and first thing they arrived and they made their arrest.
Now, the story that we just saw, how did you get onto this?
We were in the vehicle, and we listened to the police scanner, and they said this person was fleeing north in a direction, so we said, gee, if we went about a mile further north, maybe we would intersect. Sure enough, we did.
Were you nervous? Were you frightened at all at any time during this?
No, it was just kind of the adrenaline was flowing, though. And,
Sure.
And as he started to hit more vehicles there, of course, we wanted the police to get there. And when he bolted and started running through HCMC, but there's Bob Crippa.
Yeah,
Good,
now
good
tell me
shape he is.
something. Yeah,
holding
Bob
that camera.
Crippa is in good shape. Most of the photographer that we're talking about is in very good shape. He's a big, strong guy. He's got that camera on his shoulder, which weighs 25, 30 pounds.
Enough.
Somewhere around. Yeah, enough. You're absolutely right. Now, how does he do that?
Well, he stayed right on him, and people were backing out, as they went through the hospital, and I was behind with my cell phone saying, well, now we're in HCMC, and that's how the chase went.
Now, I know you mentioned the commendation you received from Chief Tony Boza. Now, I know from my experience, I know this is not the first time that you've been involved in stories like this. You had one not too long ago.
Well, yes, there was one down in Savage where there were a couple of burglars. And again, we heard it on the police scanner. We got down there. They were looking for them.
All right. We have that story for you right now. Let's take a look.
Police chased the burglary suspects through a Savage neighborhood, knowing from what area residents were telling them they weren't far behind the two. Then suddenly, Jerry Payne spotted them under a deck and yelled at us.
Here he is! Hey, here he is!
We in turn yelled for police, who were just down the street and arrived in seconds.
Get your ass out of there right now, both of you! Come out! Keep your hands up where I can see them. How many of you are in there? Get out. 2.
All right, climb out slowly. I mean slowly.
5298.
5298 South Park Drive.
5298.
You stay there. You're in there.
5298.
Jerry Payne, who spotted the men, along with his wife, just happened to be babysitting their grandson, the couple here from Wisconsin.
When he told me they were under the porch, it just scared me. And I got my grandson upstairs sleeping.
With the State Patrol helicopter searching from the air and officers running through the neighborhood, Payne thought he'd look around the house.
I just come around like this, and I thought, well, the obvious place they might be laying would be under the porch. So I just knelt down like this, and there he was, eye to eye.
The manhunt began a couple of hours earlier, a few blocks away.
I came down the stairs, and I looked down there, and I seen him at this door.
So John Beck grabbed his gun and ran out front, hoping to stop the two in their tracks.
And they were coming around inside the house, and I told them I wanted to stay here because we called the police, and they were coming. And they didn't seem fazed at all. They kept walking away, so I just fired a shell up in the air.
But Beck says both suspects ignored the shot and took off. One of the men, this 20-year-old, was released earlier this month from the St. Cloud prison for a string of burglaries 2 years ago. Police say he and his accomplice will face similar charges again.
Nice job once again.
Oh, well, thanks. But again, the kudos go to the photographer, photojournalist Bob Crippa. I mean, he is amazing. And he always pushes the line, as you see in that story, but that's the difference.
Now, you've worked with Bob for a long time, and is that, I assume it's beneficial in a situation like this. And both the stories that we've seen, it has to be beneficial because you understand the nuances of each other and how you work. And
that's right. We're a team out there, and I almost know what he's going to do, and I know where to grab for the batteries and the tapes and everything. And in situations like that, time is everything. If you're a few seconds behind, you're not going to get the video you need to tell the story.
What is it that, crime stories, and you cover a lot of them. I mean, you're down at the courthouses all the time, shuffling through papers. You're on the kinds of stories that we saw just now. What is it that attracts you to those types of stories?
Well, there's definitely a lot of action there. And You just never know what it's going to be from one day to the next, what you're going to be covering. Some of it's really tragic and sad, but once in a while there's some great stories out there that come along and they have happy endings. So, you know, get up in the morning, you don't know if you're going to be happy or sad at the end of the day. But
now tell me about your relationship with the various police departments. And we won't cite any specific police departments, but is it good, is it bad, or is there an ebb and flow to it?
It's an ebb and flow. It depends on who you do the story on that day. But generally, a pretty good relationship. There are some departments that obviously have been stung by me, and I've got a lot of baggage. I mean, I've been doing this here in this town for almost 19 years, so some of the officers don't forget if, you know, I cross them in one way or another. But
right, exactly.
And the bottom line is always try to be fair.
Well, for 19 years, you've been doing a good job,
Well,
Green.
thanks.
We appreciate it very much, seriously. I've always appreciated your work. Thanks.
Thank you.
Coming up, it's one of the biggest spectacles you'll ever see in the Black Hills. It's next.
Now,
Them damn motorcycles again.
Residents and authorities in Sturgis, South Dakota are breathing a sigh of relief. The last of the 200,000 plus motorcycle enthusiasts who gathered there last week have pretty much rumbled out of town. Well, tonight in their honor, we'll go back a few years and revisit the 50th anniversary of the annual Sturgis Rally and Races.
Some bikers say the rally has lost its raw flavor as more and more families are traveling to Sturgis. But it's probably not like any 50th anniversary party you've ever been to. So hold on to your seats because we're taking you to Hog Heaven.
As they gaze upon the Black Hills of South Dakota, the stately faces of Mount Rushmore seem as much a part of the landscape as the nature surrounding them. But in the light of early morning, their peaceful setting is disrupted by a rumbling intruder. So strange is this creature on two wheels, even those who live here can't help but react with both fear and wonderment as he passes them by. If only they could see what lies just down the road.
G'day, mate. Well, I guess if we were all still driving around in horses and carriages, we'd be the guys riding around just on a horse.
The setting is a makeshift campground called Hog Heaven, where memories of the night before, some of them not so pleasant, still linger. Spurred by their love for bikes, specifically Harleys, they've come from all over the world, some from as far away as down under.
Their life. We love it. Same as the Americans.
This is unbelievable. I've never seen so many bikers in one area.
Now, coming over here to this Sturgis, it's a mind-blowing thing for us.
I think it's a great time. You know, we come up here, party for a week. There's hardly any hassle.
What keeps them coming is the Black Hills Motor Classic, the bikers' annual pilgrimage to Mecca. Even more so this year because it's the 50th anniversary.
The reason we're sitting here yakking, you guys, is this has been the biggest spectacle to hit the Black Hills.
The official visitor count holding at 275,000 right now.
I know you've had a good time, because I've seen you guys having a good time.
That's a fact.
One of the anthems of the bikers, Doobie Brothers of Compact Disc.
Them damn motorcycles again.
For 1 week in the summer, the tiny town of Sturgis is transformed into South Dakota's largest city with a population 50 times its normal size.
$15 out of 20.
It's the kind of place where a stroll down Main Street can become an impromptu photo session. The kind of place where the longest lines are found at the tattoo parlor.
We're their kind of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they save all year to come here and get a tattoo once a year. That's what they do.
Here, grown men with beer guts compete for the title of toughest biker in North America. Yes, things are strange in Sturgis, and all is well.
Business is wonderful. Can't you tell? I mean, it's great.
We never talk about nothing. No. All we do is sit and watch.
Henry and Marjorie Clayton have front row seats for the show. The constant rumble in front of their house is annoying, but at least entertaining.
What's the wildest thing you've ever seen?
You don't want me to tell you.
Psych out.
And they do some pretty radical things down there.
Like what?
Oh, they'd have nudie shows and whatever.
Hi, Mom! Despite the circus-like antics of the rally, bikers say this is what it's really all about. Out here, all differences are put aside. It doesn't matter where you've been or where you're going. All that matters is an appreciation for the freedom of the open road.
Well, it's a way of life. It's a way to enjoy yourself, get out, just be by yourself, get the wind in your face, have nobody bother you. You know, just get out on the road and do what you want to do.
It's the code of the road, and it makes for the strangest of bedfellows. Only in Sturgis is it impossible to distinguish between a Hell's Angel and a wealthy businessman. There is a closeness here. The day and the rally draw to a close, and the bikers will leave just as they came. For some, the destination is home. For others, it's no place at all.
As you head out, take it easy, and wherever you might be headed, just don't be any rush to get home, okay? We want to see you all get home safe and sound so we can have you back next year.
The first Sturgis Rally was held in 1938. It lasted for only 2 days and featured 19 racers on a half-mile track.
And as we mentioned earlier, the fun and games from this year's rally just ended. In fact, take a look at this picture. Boy, Di, we're glad you made it back. Di, of course, was out in Sturgis with her good cousin, Bear. But thanks for making back and joining us here tonight. He's a lot of fun. Yeah, he is a lot of fun. Yeah. I've heard great stories about him. Stay tuned because the 10 p.m. news is coming up next.
That's the newscast where we feature the KARE 11 News Extra. Good night.
Good night.